Commander Harin stood on the bridge of her warship, looking at the small planet below. Her blue skin glowed softly under the ship's lights. Like all Vorthak people, she was tall and thin, with 4 arms that moved with perfect control. War, to her people, was like a dance. Every step was planned. Every move was careful. "Commander," said her officer, Kethvalium, "the human colony is ready for capture. They have no real weapons, no shields. Just some old buildings and scared people." Harin nodded. This would be easy. The Galactic Council had given her 12 warships to take this small colony. It was too much power for such a weak target, but rules were rules. She looked at her datapad. The information about humans was old but clear. Species, human, status, dead, last seen, 200 years ago. Cause, killed themselves with atomic bombs, threat level, 0. Harin almost felt sorry for the colonists below. Humans were just another failed species. The galaxy was full of races that had tried to reach the stars but died before they could make it. At least these humans had managed to build a few colonies before their homeworld burned. "How many people live down there?" she asked. "About 47,000, Commander, mostly farmers and miners. Their biggest building looks like a factory where they make tools and machines." Harin walked to the big window that looked out at space. 11 other Vorthak warships floated nearby in perfect formation. Each ship was beautiful, with smooth curves and bright lights. They looked like art pieces that could fly and fight. "Begin." "The standard process," she ordered. "Send them a message. Tell them they have 24 hours to surrender. If they give up, we will treat them well. If they fight, we will destroy their weapons and then they will surrender anyway." This was how war worked in the galaxy. The stronger side would show their power. The weaker side would see they could not win. Then everyone would sit down and talk about terms. Usually, no one had to die. It was civilized, it was clean. It was predictable. Keta volume sent the message to the human colony. Harin expected to get a reply within a few hours. Maybe the humans would ask for more time. Maybe they would try to negotiate. Some might even surrender immediately. She did not expect what happened next. The deep space sensors began to beep. Something was coming out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Harin looked at her screens. A single ship appeared, far away but moving toward them. "What is that?" she asked. Ke volume studied his instruments. "Unknown vessel, Commander. It is Dodge, very large. And it is sending us a message." The message came through on all their communication channels. The voice was clear and strong. "This is Captain Jinha of the UES Indomitable. You have 60 seconds to leave human space." Harin blinked. She looked at the data again. The ship was indeed massive. It was at least twice the size of her flagship. But it looked wrong. Where Vorthak ships were smooth and elegant, this thing was rough and angular. It had thick armor plates welded all over its surface. Weapons stuck out from every side like the spines of some metal beast. 60 seconds? Harin said to her bridge crew. 1 ship against 12? Do these humans not understand mathematics? Her weapons officer, a young Vorthak named Telmar, laughed. "Commander, look at their ship. It appears to be held together with metal patches. And hope. Our sensors show it is running systems far beyond safe limits. That vessel should explode just from trying to fly." Harin studied the human ship more carefully. It was ugly, yes, but it was also huge. And something about it made her feel uncomfortable. It did not move like other ships. Most vessels in space glided smoothly, following clean paths from point to point. This human ship moved like a living thing. It changed direction suddenly. It sped up and slowed down without warning. It seemed angry. "Commander," Kethvalium reported, "the human ship is not retreating. It is accelerating toward us." 1 ship, Harin repeated. "Against 12. She turned to her weapons officer. "Telmar, charge our main weapons. Let us show these humans why they should have stayed dead." The Vorthak warships began to glow as their energy weapons powered up. Each ship carried enough firepower to level a city. Together they could destroy anything the humans might send against them. "Fire when ready," Harin commanded. 12 beams of pure energy lanced out across space toward the human ship. The beams were perfect, calculated to disable the vessel without destroying it completely. They would knock out the human ship's weapons and engines, leaving it helpless but not dead. The energy beams hit the human ship dead on. The human ship did not slow down. Instead, something impossible happened. The thick armor on the human vessel glowed bright red from the heat, but it held. Steam and smoke poured off the ship's surface, but it kept coming. And from inside that smoke and fire, more weapons began to appear. The human ship was not just taking their attack. It was getting ready to fight back. Captain Jinha's voice came over the communication channels again, and this time Harin could hear something in his tone that made her stomach feel cold. "Thank you for warming up our armor. Now let me show you what a human battleship looks like when it is angry." Harin stared at her screens. This was not how space battles worked. Ships were supposed to stay at safe distances. They were supposed to use their weapons carefully. They were supposed to follow the rules. The human ship was following no rules at all. "Commander," Telmar whispered, "what do we do?" Harin watched. The massive human vessel bared down on her fleet like a flying mountain made of guns and fury. For the first time in her military career, she did not know the answer to that question. The human ship was still 60 seconds away. It was going to be a very long 60 seconds. The human battleship Indomitable crashed into the middle of Harin's perfect formation like a metal asteroid. Harin watched in shock as the massive ship spun between her vessels, forcing them to break apart or risk hitting each other. "This is impossible," she whispered. "No one fights like this." Captain Jinha's voice filled the communication channels. "Harin, you wanted to see war. Let me teach you something new." The human ship moved like nothing Harin had ever seen. Most space battles happened at long distances. Ships would fire at each other from far away, like a careful dance. But the Indomitable dove right into the center of her fleet, spinning and turning in ways that should have torn it apart. "Commander!" Telmar shouted from his weapons station. "I cannot get a clear shot. The human ship is too close to our own vessels." Harin realized what was happening. The human captain was using her own ships against her. If she fired at the human vessel now, she might hit her own fleet. The Indomitable was hurting them like farm animals, but that was not the worst part. The worst part was what the human ship was doing while it moved. Chunks of metal shot out from its weapons like bullets from an ancient gun. But these bullets were the size of cars and moved faster than anything Harin had ever seen. One of the metal chunks hit her ship Starlight. The impact shook the entire vessel. Harin grabbed onto her command chair to keep from falling. "Damage report," she called. "Hull breach on deck 7, Keth Volume reported. "But Commander, look at this. The metal chunk that hit us. It is still there. It went through our armor like it was paper and stuck inside our ship." Harin looked at her screen. The human projectile had punched a perfect hole through 3 decks of her warship. It should have exploded on impact. Instead, it just sat there, a solid piece of metal that had hit them with the force of a small moon. "They are not using energy weapons," she realized. "They are throwing rocks at us. Very fast, very heavy rocks." Another Vorthak ship, the Harmony, tried to pull back to a safe distance. The Indomitable immediately turned toward it, chasing it like a hunting animal. The human ship fired more of its metal bullets, and Harin watched 3 of them hit the Harmony's engines. The Harmony stopped moving. It was not destroyed, just disabled. The human captain could have blown it up completely, but he chose not to. He wanted it alive, but helpless. "Commander Harin," Jinha's voice came over the radio. Again. "Your ship Harmony is now out of the fight. Its crew is safe, but its engines are gone. Would you like to surrender, or shall we continue this lesson?" Harin felt her hands shake. In 3 minutes, this human had disabled one of her ships and trapped the rest of her fleet in close combat. This was not how space battles worked. This was chaos. All ships, concentrate fire on the human vessel, she ordered. Her remaining 11 ships turned their weapons toward the Indomitable. Energy beams lanced out from every direction. The human ship was caught in a cage of deadly light. For a moment, Haran thought she had won. The human ship disappeared inside a ball of fire and energy. Then Jinha started laughing. The sound came through every radio channel, loud and clear and completely insane. The human captain was laughing while his ship burned. "You just gave us more power," Jinha's voice rang out. "Thank you." The ball of fire around the Indomitable suddenly got brighter. Much brighter. The human ship came out of the energy storm moving faster than before. Its armor glowed like a red-hot coal, but it was still fighting. How was that possible? Telmar screamed. Keth Volume was staring at his instruments in disbelief. "Commander, their power readings just went up. Our weapons fire somehow made their ship stronger." Haran watched the human battleship spin toward her flagship. She could see scorch marks all over its hull where their weapons had hit it. But she could also see something else. The damaged parts of the ship were moving, metal plates were shifting around. Broken sections were being covered by new armor. "The ship is repairing itself," she whispered. "Not repairing," Keth Volume corrected, his voice full of fear. "Improving. Every time we damage it, it gets better." The Indomitable opened fire again. This time, Haran saw what the human weapons really were. They were not just metal chunks. They were pieces of broken ships, old engine parts, chunks of asteroid, and what looked like kitchen appliances, all fired at incredible speed. One projectile that hit the warship Crystal Dreams was definitely a refrigerator. Haran could see the door hanging open as it punched through the ship's armor. "They are shooting garbage at us?" Telmar said in shock. "Literal garbage." "And it is working," Haran replied. Another human voice joined the battle communications. This one sounded older, calmer. "This is Admiral Park on the human colony below. Captain Jinha, do you need backup?" "Negative, Admiral," Jinha replied while his ship dodged between 3 Vorthag vessels at the same time. "I think I can handle 12 ships by myself, but thank you for asking." Haran realized that this was not even the full strength of the human military. This was just one captain in one ship, and he was treating her entire battle fleet like a training exercise. The Indomitable suddenly stopped spinning and faced her flagship directly. For a moment, everything was quiet. Then Jinha spoke again, and his voice was no longer laughing. "Haran, you made one mistake. You thought war was about having better weapons or more ships or prettier formations." The human battleship began to glow as it charged its main weapons. "War is not about any of those things," Jinha continued. "War is about who wants to win more. And lady, you just picked a fight with the species that invented the word stubborn." Haran looked at her tactical display. In 15 minutes, one human ship had disabled 3 of her vessels, trapped the rest of her fleet in close combat, and somehow gotten stronger from taking damage. She was starting to understand that her intelligence files about humans were very, very wrong. The human ship fired its main weapon. A stream of metal projectiles, energy beams, and what looked like an entire mining drill shot toward her flagship. Haran closed her eyes and waited for impact. When she opened them again, her ship was still intact. The human weapons had missed her by inches. Hitting empty space. Jinha's voice came over the radio one more time. "That was a warning shot, Commander. The next one will not miss. You have 30 seconds to decide if you want to retreat or if you want to find out what happens when humans stop being polite." Haran looked at her remaining ships. Half of them were damaged. Her perfect formation was in ruins. And the human captain was giving her a chance to leave. She had 30 seconds to make the most important decision of her military career. Haran had 28 seconds left to decide when her sensors detected something impossible. More ships were coming. "Commander," Keth Volume called out, his voice shaking. "Multiple contacts approaching from the outer system, at least. 40 vessels." Haran felt her hope die. 40 more human warships would destroy her fleet completely. She was about to order a full retreat when her tactical officer continued his report. Commander, these are not military ships. They appear to be civilians. On her main screen, Harin saw the strangest fleet she had ever witnessed. Mining ships with industrial drills still attached. Cargo haulers with missile pods welded to their sides, transport vessels covered in armor plating, even a luxury yacht that somehow had a massive gun mounted where its swimming pool used to be. Each ship was different. Each ship was crewed. And each ship was flying straight toward the battle with no fear at all. "This is Captain Quan on the mining vessel Persistence," a new human voice joined the radio chatter. "Jinha, you started this party without us?" "Captain." Jinha laughed as his battleship continued to circle the trapped Vorthak fleet. "Sorry, Quan, they only gave me 60 seconds notice. But there is plenty of fighting left if you want some." "Always do," Quan replied. "All civilian vessels, this is your reminder that we are not soldiers. We are farmers and miners and teachers. But someone just threatened our home, so today we are something else." Haran watched in growing horror as the civilian ships spread out around her fleet. They moved with no formation, no discipline, no military training at all. But somehow they worked together perfectly, like a pack of hunting animals. The mining ship Persistence dove toward one of her destroyers. The Bright Star, instead of weapons, it used its ore processing equipment. Haran watched the industrial machines literally eat through the Bright Star's armor, breaking down the metal at the molecular level. "What are they doing?" Telmar screamed. "They are mining our ships," Haran whispered in disbelief. The Persistence stripped away the Bright Star's weapons and engines piece by piece, as carefully as a surgeon. The crew inside was never harmed, but their ship was completely disabled in minutes. Meanwhile, a cargo hauler called the Heavy Lifter had done something impossible with its artificial gravity generator. It grabbed one of Haran's frigates with gravity beams and threw it at another Vorthak ship. Both vessels collided and spun away, damaged but not destroyed. "This is insane," Kethvolume muttered. "They are using civilian equipment as weapons of war." The luxury yacht, now calling itself the Unexpected, was somehow the most dangerous ship in the human-civilian fleet. Its converted gravity cannon fired bursts of compressed space-time that bent metal and twisted hull plating into impossible shapes. One shot from the Unexpected turned the warship Serenity into something that looked like abstract art. But what terrified Haran most was not the weapons or the tactics. It was the voices. The human civilians were talking to each other over open channels, and they sounded ... happy. They were joking and laughing and sharing stories while they dismantled her fleet piece by piece. "Hey, Quan," called the captain of a converted transport ship. "Remember when we complained that mining asteroids was boring?" "I take it back," Quan replied as his ship systematically stripped the armor off another Vorthak vessel. "This is much more interesting." A woman's voice joined the conversation from what looked like a medical supply ship that had somehow grown weapons. "My grandmother always said that neighbors should look out for each other. I think she would be proud." Haran realized that these were not soldiers. These were ordinary people who had left their jobs and families to come fight because someone had threatened their colony. They were teachers who drove cargo ships, farmers who operated mining equipment, doctors who had turned medical vessels into combat support ships, and they were enjoying themselves. "All human vessels," Jinna's voice cut through the chatter. "Remember that we are not here to destroy anyone. We are here to send a message." "What message is that?" asked the captain of the Heavy Lifter. "That humans do not start fights," Jinha replied as his battleship disabled another Vorthak warship with surgical precision. "But we always finish them." Haran's flagship shook as something hit it. She looked at her damage reports. The human civilians had surrounded her command ship, but they were not attacking it directly. Instead, they were systematically removing its weapons, engines, and communication equipment. They were taking her ship apart like mechanics working on a broken vehicle. "Commander," Telmar reported, "we have lost main weapons, secondary weapons, engines, and long-range communications. Life support is still functioning. They are being very careful not to hurt us." Haran understood. The humans could have destroyed her entire fleet in the first few minutes of battle. Instead, they were disabling her ships and keeping her crews alive. This was not about killing enemies. This was about protecting their home. "This is Quan to the Vorthak commander," the mining ship captain's voice came over her emergency communication system. "My grandmother survived the war on Earth before we reached the stars. My father built the first human colony ships with nothing but scrap metal and determination. You want to know what humans are made of? We are the people who looked at a dead planet and said, 'We can fix this.' We are the species that turned broken machines into starships and turned starships into homes." Haren's sensors showed that her entire fleet was now disabled. 47 human vessels, most of them civilian ships with no military training, had defeated 12 of the finest warships in the Vorthak Empire. "You made one mistake," Quan continued, his voice calm and patient. "You thought we fight because we like violence. We do not fight because we enjoy it. We fight because someone needs fighting, and we are too stubborn to let anyone else handle it." On her main screen, Haren could see the human colony on the planet below. Lights were coming on in windows. Children were probably waking up from their sleep, safe and warm because their neighbors had come to protect them. "This is Jinha to Commander Haren." The battleship captain's voice was no longer angry. "You have a choice now. You can report back to your government that humans are extinct and this never happened. Or you can tell them the truth, that we have been out here the whole time, building homes and raising families and turning mining equipment into weapons when people threaten our children." Haren looked at her ruined fleet. In 2 hours, everything she thought she knew about warfare had been proven wrong. "What happens if we choose to tell the truth?" she asked quietly. Jinha's answer chilled her to the bone. "Then the galaxy learns that there are 40 million human colonies out there, and every single one of them has neighbors just like these." The Battle of Kepler 442b was over. Haren sat in her command chair, looking at the ruins of what had once been the pride of the Vorthak Empire. 12 warships reduced to floating scrap metal by farmers and miners who had never seen military training. Around her flagship, the human civilian fleet was already cleaning up the battlefield. They moved with the same cheerful efficiency they had shown during the fight, using their mining equipment to collect debris and salvage useful materials from the wreckage. "Commander," Keth Volume reported quietly, "the human captain is requesting permission to come aboard." Haren nodded. She needed to meet the man who had destroyed everything she thought she knew about warfare. 20 minutes later, Captain Jinha walked onto her bridge. Haren was surprised by how normal he looked. He was not tall or physically impressive. He wore a simple uniform with oil stains on the sleeves. He looked like a mechanic who happened to command a battleship. "Commander Haren," Jinha said with a polite bow, "thank you for agreeing to meet with me." "You could have killed us all," Haren said directly. "Why did you not?" Jinha smiled sadly. "Because we are not monsters. We did not choose this fight, but once it started, we chose how to finish it. Dead enemies create more enemies. Defeated enemies sometimes become friends." He walked to the bridge window and looked out at the human colony on the planet below. "Do you see those lights down there? Those are houses where children live, schools where they learn, farms where they grow food. We did not come out here to build an empire or conquer other species. We came to make homes." Haren followed his gaze. The colony looked so peaceful from space. It was hard to believe that such a small settlement had produced the defenders who had just humiliated her fleet. "But you are warriors," she said. "Your people fight like nothing I have ever seen." "No," Jinha shook his head. "We are not warriors, we are neighbors. There is a difference." He turned back to face her. "A warrior fights because it is their job. A neighbor fights because someone threatened their family. Warriors follow orders and tactics and rules. Neighbors just do whatever it takes to keep their children safe." Haren thought about this. "Your intelligence files say humans destroyed themselves, that your homeworld is dead." Jinha's smile disappeared. "Earth died, yes. We made mistakes. We fought wars over stupid things like money and borders and who believed in which god. We almost ended our species because we could not learn to work together. But you survived. Some of us did. We learned from our mistakes. We spread out among the stars and built new homes. We taught our children to be better than we were. And we promised each other that we would never again let anyone destroy what we had built. Harin was quiet for a long moment. Then she asked the question that had been troubling her. How many colonies do you have? Jinha looked directly at her. How many stars can you see from here? The answer hit Harin like a physical blow. She had been thinking about humans as a small, scattered group of survivors. But if they had been building colonies for 200 years, spreading across the galaxy while everyone thought they were extinct. 40 million colonies, Jinha said softly, give or take a few thousand. Each one with people like Kanon who left their mining jobs to protect their neighbors. Each one with people who remember what happened to Earth and will never let it happen again. Har, and felt her legs go weak. 40 million? Small ones, mostly. A few thousand people each. But all connected. All watching out for each other. When you attacked this colony, word went out to every human settlement within 50 light years. If you had actually hurt people here, you would have had more visitors than just Quan and his mining crew. Jinha walked to Harin's tactical display and pointed to the star map. You see this sector? Humans have colonies in half these systems, and this sector, and this one? We have been building homes and raising families while your Galactic Council was busy writing reports about how we were extinct. Harin stared at the map with new understanding. Humans were not a small, weak species hiding on the edge of space. They were everywhere, invisible and ignored because everyone assumed they were dead. What do you want? She asked. We want to be left alone, Jinha said simply. We want to raise our children and grow our food and explore new worlds. We do not want to rule the galaxy or conquer other species. We just want peace. And if we do not leave you alone? Jinha's expression became very serious. Then you will learn why we survived when our homeworld died. You will learn why 40 million colonies of humans means 40 million groups of neighbors who will drop everything to help each other. You will learn that the species you thought was extinct has been growing stronger for 200 years. New voice interrupted them. It was coming from Harin's emergency communication system. This is Mayor Shunwei from the colony below. Captain Jinha, our children are asking if they can come outside and wave at the pretty spaceships. Jinha laughed, and for a moment he sounded like a grandfather instead of a military commander. Tell them they can come out, Mayor, the pretty spaceships are friendly now. Harin listened to this exchange in amazement. Children wanted to come out and wave at the warships that had just been trying to conquer their colony. This was not how defeated populations were supposed to behave. Commander Harin, Jinha said gently, you have a choice to make. You can go back to your government and report that you found a small human colony with no defenses. You can tell them that humans are still extinct and this never happened, or you can tell them the truth. That humans are alive, spread across the galaxy, and very good at protecting what they love. That we do not want to fight anyone, but we are extremely good at it when we have to be. That the species they wrote off as dead has been preparing for 200 years to make sure we never die again. Harin looked out at the human civilian ships, still cheerfully salvaging materials from her destroyed fleet. Teachers and farmers, and doctors who had turned construction equipment into weapons and fought a space battle like it was a community project. What would you do? She asked. Jinha smiled. I would tell them that humans are neighbors worth having. But that is your choice to make, Commander. Choose wisely. Harin knew her choice would change the galaxy forever. 6 months after the Battle of Kepler 4-2b, Harin stood before the Galactic Council with a decision that would change everything. The great meeting hall was filled with representatives from dozens of species, all waiting to hear her report. She had spent weeks thinking about what to say. She could lie and tell them the humans were still extinct. She could report that her fleet had suffered mechanical failures. She could keep the galaxy's comfortable illusions intact. Instead, she told the truth. "The human species is not extinct," she announced to the shocked assembly. "They have 40 million colonies spread across the galaxy. They are peaceful farmers and miners and teachers, but when threatened, they become the most dangerous enemy any of us has ever faced." The council chamber erupted in noise. Representatives shouted questions. Some called her crazy. Others demanded proof. Harren waited for silence, then continued. "I brought 12 warships to capture one small colony. We were defeated by farmers using mining equipment. Not military ships, not trained soldiers, neighbors protecting their children." As she spoke, her words were being recorded and transmitted across the galaxy through normal diplomatic channels. But they were also spreading through other networks, traders and smugglers and merchants, who dealt in the most valuable commodity in space, interesting stories. The story of Captain Jinha and his battleship Indomitable began to grow with each telling. Traders shared it in space stations. Smugglers whispered it in dark corners of alien bars. Merchants told it to their customers while selling goods. Each time the story was told, it changed a little. But the core message remained the same. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, humans were alive, building homes and defending them with impossible courage. Meanwhile, deep in space near the ruins of what had once been Earth, something extraordinary was happening. Captain Jinha stood on the bridge of the newly built UES Indomitable II, watching the construction yards of Luna Base through thick windows. Around him, the largest fleet in human history was taking shape. But these were not military factories pumping out identical warships. These were community projects with each human colony contributing what they could. Mining ships brought raw materials. Agricultural worlds sent food and supplies. Industrial colonies provided manufacturing expertise. The ships being built were as unique as the colonies that created them. Each vessel reflected the personality of its builders. Some looked like flying cities. Others resembled giant tools, adapted for space travel. A few appeared to be enormous works of art that happened to carry weapons. "Captain," said Commander Harren, the same Harren who had once led the Vorthek attack, now wearing a human uniform with pride. "The Council has sent another message. They are offering us full membership in the galactic government." Jinha smiled the same smile he had worn when charging through the Vorthek fleet. "What do you think, Harren? Should we join their club?" Harren had spent months learning about humans after the battle. She had visited their colonies, met their families, learned their languages. What she discovered had changed her completely. "No, Captain. Humans do not need to join other people's governments. Humans create communities." Jinha nodded approvingly. "Send them a polite message. Tell them we appreciate the offer, but we are not interested in ruling anyone or being ruled by anyone. We have homes to build and children to raise." Across the galaxy, the legend of humanity continued to spread. In the crystalline hierarchies, military strategists studied recordings of the Battle of Kepler 442b, trying to understand how civilian miners had defeated trained warships. In the quantum collective, scientists attempted to explain how human ships could operate beyond their design limits through nothing but determination. But the most important conversations were happening in smaller places. In the back rooms of space stations, young members of oppressed species whispered about the humans who had looked at extinction and decided to try again. In the holds of cargo ships, workers shared stories about neighbors who would cross the galaxy to help each other. The name Jinha became something more than just a captain's name. It became a symbol of what was possible when ordinary people decided to do extraordinary things. On a distant mining station, a young alien worker facing impossible quotas heard. The historian thought, "If humans can turn mining equipment into weapons, maybe I can find a way to make my life better too." In a refugee camp on the edge of civilized space, parents told their children about the humans who had built new homes after losing their old one, giving them hope that tomorrow could be better than today. Captain Kwan, now commanding a fleet of converted civilian ships, had established humanity's first official deep space exploration program. His vessels, still flying mining ships and cargo haulers, were pushing into uncharted regions of the galaxy, looking for new worlds to call home. This is Quan to all human vessels, his voice carried across dozens of star systems. We have found 17 new worlds suitable for colonies in the past month. Every single one is far away from any existing government or empire. We can build homes there without bothering anyone. His words were picked up by alien listening posts and transmitted to their governments. Military analysts tried to interpret this as expansion or conquest, but the truth was simpler. Humans were doing exactly what they had always done. They were looking for empty places where they could build communities and raise families. Back on Luna Base, Jinha prepared to address all human colonies in a message that would be remembered for generations. This is Captain Jinha to every human settlement, mining station, and colony ship in known space. 6 months ago, someone tried to tell us we did not belong in this galaxy. They were wrong. His words reached 40 million colonies, from tiny farming settlements to massive industrial complexes, from research stations to family homesteads. We belong here because we built homes here. We belong here because we chose to survive when survival seemed impossible. We belong here because this galaxy needs neighbors, and neighbors are what we do best. Across human space, ordinary people stopped their daily work to listen. Farmers paused in their fields. Miners shut down their equipment. Teachers gathered their students. Parents held their children. The galaxy has learned our name, Jinha continued. Now let us show them what that name means. Not conquest or domination, but community. Not empire, but family. Not rulers, but the best neighbors anyone could ask for. The transmission ended, but its echoes would resonate across the galaxy for centuries to come. Humanity had announced itself to the universe not as conquerors, but as the species that had looked at the infinite darkness between stars and decided it needed more light. The galaxy would never forget the day it learned what humans truly were, the neighbors who would always come running when someone needed help, and the family that would never abandon each other again. The age of human expansion had begun.